So I'm guessing you probably listened to Aaron yesterday. He kind of hinted that, in his opinion, there's a people problem in the organization. How do you view that?
Yeah, I thought, just like Aaron said, that was a heck of a tribute to Kenny Mayne, and it was pretty cool that he went on there for him. And growing up, Kenny was definitely one of my favorites watching on SportsCenter.
Mark Daniels.
Matt, no reaction to the whole philosophy and people conversation though from Matt. And I wanted to ask you too about the players that are here. What'd you think of how Jordan Love transferred classroom work to field work?
Yeah, I just want to keep it about the guys that are here right now, and I think Jordan is definitely, you can tell he put some work in this offseason on his own. I think the ball is really jumping out of his hands well right now, and it's day 2 of OTAs, and all we've really done is thrown routes on air. We had some 7-on-7, but you guys could see that the team periods, they're not full speed. So, we're excited about just some of the progress we've seen with him, but certainly there's a long way to go there.
Matt Schneidman.
Matt, I understand it's voluntary, but would you have liked to see some more of your wide receivers there? It seemed like that was the only position group missing a chunk of guys.
Yeah, I think as a coach, you always want as many guys that choose to show up here. You talk about, I think there's a lot of team chemistry and just, which is so important in winning and losing in this league, and just, learning how to play together, learning how to practice together, setting the standards, for this football team. And so certainly, yeah, you'd love to have everybody here.
MK Burgess.
Coach, what was it like seeing everybody back on the field, especially since you didn't get that last year? And last year, the first time you saw everyone, rookies combined, was training camp.
Yeah, I think it's a huge. You realize how special this time is, especially with 2 different systems going in, a new special team system and a new defensive system, but also just to get those young guys up to speed. There's those reps are invaluable, and just so you're not, and again, learning how to practice with one another and the different tempos at which we practice. So I think this time is really invaluable for everybody, but in particular the guys that have not been exposed to football at this level.
Mike Spofford.
Hey Matt, what's your impression of how Joe Barry's doing in terms of learning his personnel and his guys, and just what have you observed in terms of how he's going about that process?
Well, I think it's really early. I think he's got a clear vision of what he wants to get done from a defensive standpoint, and he's done a great job of including all our assistant coaches and taking their input and in terms of what each individual player does really well. And, it's going to continue to progress throughout this course of the season. Hopefully you can, by the time season rolls around, by the time training camp rolls around, you can work out some of the kinks that may exist early in a season, especially in a season like the 2020 season where you didn't have an off-season activity program.
Rob Demoski.
Hey, Matt, do you have any sense that was a coordinated effort by your receivers to all stay away, or is that just coincidence that it happened to be a bunch of those guys at one position?
Rob, I really don't know. Again, I've had individual conversations with each guy, and but never once has that come up.
Thanks.
Aaron Nagler.
Matt, when you were hired a couple years ago, Mark made a pretty significant change to the power structure on the football side. Instead of you reporting to a GM, you now report directly to Mark along with Russ and Brian. Since communication, or lack thereof, seems to be a recurring theme this summer, have you sensed or had any issues or talked to Mark at all about any kind of problems when it comes to the personnel group and a lack of communication from them, either with yourself or with your players?
Well, I think the communication, especially as we've all kind of grown together, has gotten better and better, and we meet regularly. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't have communication with all 3 of those guys.
Ryan Wood.
You've made it pretty clear that you would like Aaron to be your quarterback. If his hesitance to be back is the people issue that he referred to last night, how do you go about fixing that as an organization so that he does return?
Well, I think we're, like you mentioned, Aaron definitely knows how we feel about him. How he's such an important part to our football team, such an important part to our organization, and we're just going to continue to try to work through this and hopefully can get him back in the building at some point.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Matt. I like Kenny Mayne too, but I didn't tune in to see him last night. That's for sure. I'm just wondering, Aaron said very clearly he loves the coaching staff. He loves his teammates. He loves the fans. He loves Jordan. I'm wondering if that gave you any optimism or hope to hear that, the guys that he works with every day are guys that he still loves and cares about, or are you trying not to get hopes up and just sort of stay in the course?
Yeah, we kind of talked about this with our football team is, right now there's things that are in your control and there's certain things that are out of your control. And I think that just our mindset right now is to focus on each individual in here is focused on the things that they can control. And we need everybody to be at their best in order for us to continue to progress as a football team. So that's kind of like been the focus throughout.
Pete Doherty.
Matt, you've had about a full year to work with Jordan Love. What do you think you have there?
Just a guy that's eager to continue to grow and learn, and I love his attitude and how he attacks it on a daily basis. I think he's definitely matured over the course of the year. You can tell, like I talked about earlier, that he's put in the time this offseason, and not only just lifting and running and coming in good football shape, but also you can tell that he's put in the time in his craft and trying to continue to work on his mechanics, his fundamentals that are so critical to playing the position at the highest level possible. So he's still got a lot to learn. I think he would tell you that, but he's going to take it one day at a time, and he goes out there with purpose. And I like his mindset right now.
Steve McGargy.
Wondering, I believe a couple of teams have decided to eliminate their mandatory mini camp. I was just wondering if that was something y'all had considered, or if there are any changes to your off-season schedule that maybe you're considering.
Yeah, Steve, there is plenty of changes to this off-season schedule, and that's something that I worked through with David and Mason and some of the veterans of this football team, just trying to make sure that we're doing right by them, and trying to put this team in the best possible position for success. And I do think it's important that these guys are in here again to just develop that team chemistry and try to lay the foundation for really all three phases going into next season.
In terms of the mandatory mini camp, is that still on?
Yeah, we're still going to do that. We're going to do that on week 8. I want to say that's June 7th, I believe. Is that a Monday? Wallers, I'm asking. Anyways, I think that it's the 8th week of the off-season program. Then the 9th week, what we'll do is, in order to get credit, the guys will have to attend the virtual meetings. However, the guys that are in Green Bay that choose to stay will continue to go out on the grass with them and work on whatever it is we have to work on. Right now it's kind of up in the air to see how many guys that we'll have for that, but hopefully these guys like what we're doing here and they'll continue to stay on through that 9th week.
Olivia Reiner.
Hi, Matt, with the absences that you do have at wide receiver, quarterback, elsewhere on the roster, how does that impact what you're able to do or glean from the guys that are there, for better or for worse?
I just think it's a great opportunity for the guys that are here to continue to build and grow in their game. And it's provided opportunity. You get a lot more exposure to maybe some of these younger guys that might not get the reps that they would get if some of those other guys were here. So it's been great for them. There's a lot of competition. I think that the attitude and the energy has been great, and I think that we've seen improvement from talking about the first time we got our hands on the rookies to now. You can definitely see growth in their knowledge, and then it's just getting those reps to make it so they're not out there thinking, so they can go play fast, physical, and aggressive.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned tempo a little while ago. Was that something that was negotiated? I know some teams have negotiated to get the guys to show up that they would throttle things back. Is that something that you had to do?
That's something that we talked about in terms of, first of all, when you haven't seen a majority of these guys for many weeks, you want to try to evaluate it on a daily basis, because the last thing we want to do is put somebody in a precarious position and get them injured. We know we need everybody healthy for us to be at our best, and so that's just something that we thought was right. I think we were out on the field for about 90 minutes today. We were 90 minutes yesterday. We'll be 90 minutes on Thursday. So we're not using the full 2 hours, but just want to, gradually build upon that, and then we'll evaluate it after every day to see what we need to do to continue to progress as a football team.
Mike Clemens.
Man, I remember 2 years ago, there you are, I think it's during OTAs, and you're going up to Jimmy Graham and you're talking about vision and where the hands are. It's like you needed to show him the techniques that you needed to install before you could get to the next stage of the playbook. Is that what makes, whether it's you're a rookie or a veteran, these OTAs most valuable for you?
Yeah, I think there's so much, because they're taking in so much information, and then they got to go apply it. So I would say that there's not a play that goes by that not every guy on the field is getting coached up on. There's just so much that goes into it, especially when you're talking about putting in 2 new phases. I think that our veteran guys on offense have a pretty good idea of what we want to be offensively. But again, there's a lot of youth in our group, and so we're just going to we're going to throw it all at them. And one thing that we talked about, just in terms of, in order to get the max growth, you got to make these guys uncomfortable. You got to put them in uncomfortable situations. They might be asked to do something they've never been done before, but if they attack it with the right attitude, which they have, that's when you grow the most as a person, as a player. And we're just excited to have these guys here.
Brian Wood.
Hey, Matt, speaking of max growth, ideally you'd be able to maximize all the first-team reps that Jordan is able to get right now. How much does it limit the potential for his development when he's not throwing to the guys that theoretically he'd be throwing to this fall?
I think it's just more about the process of playing the position, of going up, whether it's a run play or pass play, just building a routine and having consistency with that. So right now, I think even as we're scripting, we're less concerned about trying to put maybe the perfect person in position to, like we would in a game plan situation. It's more about just making sure that we're putting Jordan in situations so he can continue to progress. And like I said, we evaluate it every day, just certain areas that we might think that he may need a little more work at, and but no, just those guys have done a great job, and the assistant coaches have done a heck of a job. They're doing a great job of putting together great plans, and so I've been pretty pleased with the first 2 days.
We'll do 2 more. Matt Schneidman.
Matt, is Blake dealing with something that kept him out? And just generally, with Aaron not here, how valuable is it to have a guy like that who's been there, done that in this league, and also kind of played in this offense with Hackett to kind of guide Jordan along?
Yeah, I think that's super valuable. Anytime you have a guy with game experience to, just help give a nugget here and there, it's definitely different. I want to say coming from a player it's been in those situations versus a coach where it's nice and comfortable maybe on the sidelines when you don't have 11 guys trying to tear your face off. But, he's still got a lot to learn though in regards to our system. Yeah, he's accumulated a lot of football knowledge over the years. There is some carryover, whether it's from Jacksonville or with the Rams last year, but there's a lot of new stuff for him to learn as well. So, and we'll get him out there eventually. We're just kind of progressing him through.
And last one, Stacey Dales.
Coach, with all the drama surrounding the situation for you right now, how do you address your locker room in the entirety of it at this stage to ensure that this doesn't impact the culture that we know you have really established in Green Bay? And then just specifically, what intangibles from Jordan are you looking for to show the progress?
Yeah, Stacey, that is something that we did talk about briefly with our team. I think you always got to address any of the noise that's out there, but certainly the message is just control what you can control. Try to be the best player you can each and every day. Attack it with the right mindset, a great attitude, great energy, and just try to get better as a player. As far as Jordan's intangibles, I would say just mastery of this system and continuing to feel his command, not only in the huddle, but up at the line of scrimmage, and then just watch him and progress through his mechanics, fundamentals, and the different plays we're asking him to go out there and execute.